1. There's a small locally owned restaurant in my neighborhood. It's sort of casual bougie, expensive food, but not necessarily a fine dining place. I'd had drinks there once when it first opened a few years ago, but I hadn't been back since. Last week I decided to stop in for dinner. I sat at the bar and was served by a girl who I'll call Brittany. She seemed a little weird, but I didn't think much of it. Unfortunately, they only had a limited Valentine's menu that night, and none of it piqued my interest, so I told her I would come back and give them a try when the promotion is over and they have their full menu. Last night I decided to go back. I sat at the bar, and Brittany was my server again. We acknowledged that we remembered each other, and I got a glass of wine. At first she was only casually chatting with me when I looked up at the menu. How was your Valentine's Day? Are you local to the area or just visiting, etc.? The talking became more and more frequent, with her telling me all about where she's from and where her husband is from, and just a lot of mundane details about her life that I didn't ask for or care about. Now, it's important to note that although I'm an introvert, I don't like making people feel like they're draining me when they are. It's not their fault that my threshold for chit-chat is low. So I'll turn on the outgoing part of me so they don't feel weird, and so I don't make it awkward. As a result, people tend to open up to me fairly quickly. I'm aware that this is why this shit happens to me, and I'm working on it. Well, anyway, so because I'm trying not to make her uncomfortable by showing how weird and kind of annoying this is, I'm listening to her and throwing out a comment here and there. I figured it would stop once I got my food. It did not. My food comes, and she almost spills it. To make her feel better, I mentioned that I'm a former server, and it's not a big deal. I made a joke that I've done far more embarrassing things while serving. And that's where I fucked up, I guess, because she just started going and never stopped. She immediately grabs my arm and gets super close to me like we're best friends, and she launches into the story of her most embarrassing server moment. I can't even open my mouth to respond because that story is daisy-chained to another one, and then to a story about her coworker. My food is waiting patiently and losing heat by the second. Finally, I go, well, this food looks amazing. I'm gonna eat this before it gets cold. She then tells me to enjoy it and goes away. Relieved that my pasta and I are finally alone, how you doing? I start eating. Maybe 3 bites in, she comes back. I'm thinking she just wants to check to see how I'm liking my food. But instead, she pulls out the bar stool next to me and sits down, and she goes, so anyway, like I was saying, and goes right back into telling me more serving stories. As if I had just been waiting for her to come visit me with some more. In the span of 20 minutes when I'm trying to eat my dinner, she details for me her DUI experience, her 2 sexual assaults, her divorce from her first husband, how an old coworker bullied her, and a few stories about her kids. There were no questions for me. There was no back and forth, just me chewing, listening, and dying inside. The whole time I'm wondering, is she off work? If she's cut, shouldn't she be doing side work? Where is her manager to ask her WTF she's doing sitting with a customer, a stranger, for 20 minutes while they're trying to eat? Finally, I just decided to get my food to go and eat the rest at home, just to make this stop. At this point, someone else is my server now. She brings my to-go box, and I start packing up my food. And Brittany stops telling stories and goes, it's hard to meet friends around here, so can we exchange numbers? No, bitch, I never want to see you again. I couldn't think of a single way out of it unless I told her she was annoying and that I didn't want to exchange numbers. I know it's easy to say you would do that, but it really sucks when you crush a person like that. Especially someone so obviously lacking in self-awareness, so I said, sure, why don't you write down your number and give it to me? And she goes, no, give me your number and I'll text you right now. Hellfreezer's note, this bitch definitely knew what she was doing. Y'all, if you do this, stop it. Just give your number to the person and they'll use it if they want to. I reluctantly give her my number and she puts it in her phone. Then she turns her front-facing camera on and gets super close to me to take a selfie together like we're best buddies. Like we're having a night out. Like we didn't just meet for the first time less than an hour ago in a server customer capacity. She texts me the selfie and asks me to show her that it went through. In it, I look like a person who has learned a valuable lesson in boundaries. The second I left, I blocked her number, which I intended to do from the moment I started reciting my phone number to her. And now I can never go back there, which is fine. The food was overpriced for what it was. I'm not missing anything. I feel a little bit bad for ghosting Brittany when she is clearly a very lonely person, but bro, she hardly knew anything about me. Why does she want to be my friend? I suppose just to have someone to talk at. It doesn't matter anyway, because if I see her again, I'm running for the fucking hills. 2. So this was a couple of months ago. I was on my way to London and I took a night coach. For those unaware, a coach is like a luxury bus: seatbelts, leather seats, Wi-Fi plugs, toilets, stuff like that. Start of the journey. Like most coaches, you have to book tickets in advance, but you can pay extra to reserve a seat. Any other seat is first come, first served. Where I get on is the first stop of the coach's route to London, so it's free rein to pick any seat not marked as reserved. I then go all the way back and choose to sit at the emergency exit. It has the most leg room and there's some distance from my seat in front of me, so I can put the tray down and not break my neck watching a film on my tablet. It was a 10-hour journey and I was enjoying my time, watching some films on my tablet and munching on some snacks for the journey. I'm so used to traveling on buses and coaches, so this wasn't anything new. 3 hours in, at this point it's midnight, and the coach arrives at a station to let a lot of people on. At the time, I didn't notice that someone was trying to talk to me. A mix of focused on the film and my headphones were noise cancelling. He gave me a slight shake to get my attention, which he did. I took off my headphones and he asked me, "Can I sit here, please?" Now, I thought he wanted to sit next to me and he asked because my rucksack and shopping bag was on the other seat. I'm not antisocial, so I wasn't going to say no, but I decided to ask to clarify, and this is the conversation that happens. "Oh, do you want me to move my stuff for you to sit down?" "No, I mean, can I have both of these seats for me and my wife?" "Well, no, because I'm sitting here currently, mate." "Yes, but we want to sit there, so give me these seats." "Not being funny, mate, but I also want to sit here. That's the reason I sat here." "I know, but I want to sit there now, so move, please." "So where am I supposed to sit then?" "The seats in front of us are free." "Well, there you go. You can sit there then." "But that's not where we want to sit." "Look, I'm sorry, mate, but I'm not going to move from where I am just because you want to sit here with your missus, all right? If you reserve these seats, then fair enough. I would absolutely move. But these seats aren't reserved, so no, I'm not moving. Excuse me." At that point, I put my headphones back on, and that was the end of that. I saw him walk down to the front of the coach, no idea if he went to complain to the driver or what, but I didn't care as I knew I was in the right. Sure, I was quite rude at the end, but I wasn't going to give up my spot just because someone asked me to when I had already settled down in the seat. A couple of minutes later, I did see he and his wife come back up to me. They walked past and sat behind me. What's funny is that they glared at me as they walked by. It should be worth mentioning that he didn't have any visible or physical disabilities. If he needed leg room for a disabled access, he would have said. And even then, that's what the front of the coach is for disabled access. In fact, he and his wife were way skinnier than me, and I'm a fat bloke. For the last 6 hours, they sat behind me. I didn't hear what they were saying, but a part of me jokingly thought they were planning to take over my seats if I got up and used the loo. But I never did, so I never found out. 3. So I've got a somewhat odd neighbor across the street. Been there for about 10 years, and I've barely spoken with him. Early 30s when he moved in. He is rarely out the front of his home. He drives down the driveway from the back of his house, and then drives back in the same way. I just barely see the dude. From what the neighbors said who sold their house to him, he's a Google Nair. Sold an app that made a ton of money. He bought the house because it was close to the small local airport. To each his own. Anyways, he frequently parks strangely when he doesn't put the car in his driveway during the odd hours of the day that he comes and goes. For a while, he would park in front of my house, right in the middle of the frontage. So instead of 2 spots, there's just 1. And he does it when his own frontage is completely empty. And I have older in-laws and college-age kids that visit. I need close parking for them. I never saw the guy, and he didn't answer his door twice, so I started putting orange cones in front when he was gone. After a month, issues ceased. Fast forward a year, and it's time for Burning Man. Every year, he has a dozen of his friends unload his garage into a giant U-Haul. Only time I ever see more than 1 person visiting. The year prior, he had driven the truck into a neighbor's tree, knocking it down, and just went on like nothing happened. Thankfully, someone saw him, and he was forced to take care of it. On this occasion, I see the truck show up, and then his friends. I work from home, so I'm doing my thing through the course of the day. At 3 p.m., I have to go pick up my youngest from school and take their friends to rowing practice. I come outside, and there's a car parked across my driveway. The 2 spots along the frontage are empty, but this person parked blocking me in, and there is a child in the car seat. I call out to the neighbor's friends that they need to move the car. A woman, mid-30s, says, "Hold on, I'll just be half an hour." No. I need to leave now to pick up my daughter at school. She rolls her eyes and tips her head back. "Fine, give me 15 minutes. As far as I could see, she'd not been doing anything at all except talking to one of the others when I had called out. "No, sorry, now. I need to get my daughter at school, and I don't have time to waste." She finally comes over, pissed, and moves the car. But rather than pulling forward 10 feet into the open frontage, she pulls her car into the driveway of a different neighbor, which I thought was odd. But hey, it's a dumb choice with no reasoning behind it, but not my current problem. I leave. I get back home 2 hours later, and her car is back in front of my driveway. And there is no one in sight. Again, unrestricted parking and open frontage in front of both my home and the odd neighbor, but her car is in front of my driveway. I knock on the odd guy's door, nothing. I knock on the neighbor next door in whose driveway she'd parked, and they said they had forced her out when they got back with their daughter, but they had seen the group all pull out with the U-Haul, so I had her towed. 5 days later, could have been 4 or 6, I hear pounding at my door. It was the entitled girl and the odd neighbor demanding to know where her car is. I had it towed. Here's her card. Why would you abandon your car in front of my driveway? I couldn't really make out the crazy she was screaming at me, but she seemed to suggest it was punishment for being so unreasonable. I think. She called the police and the tow company. The cops laughed at her. She got a ride to the tow company, from what I could tell. Never saw her again. Neighbor came over to apologize the next day. He hadn't seen her move the car the second time to my driveway. 4. I am a 34-year-old woman and work at a cafe as a cashier, and I look a lot younger than I am. The cafe I work at is very homey and cozy, and I love my job. However, I encounter so many entitled people, and the cafe reinforces the fact that people should act that way. Honestly, WTF. Let me give you a couple of examples. An older lady walks in, probably in her mid-50s. She orders and adds one of our cookies to her order. You get half off when you get an entree and a drink. An incentive to get a sweet. No big deal, it's one of our cheap shortbread cookies that's iced. She wanders off with her daughter and cookie to wait for their food. I wander off to do tasks like collecting dishes and trash. I come back when I notice she is standing there at the register again. I ask her what's wrong. "This cookie is too hard. I can't eat this." My first thought was, no shit, Sherlock, it's a fucking shortbread cookie. But I fake a smile and instead act as pleasant as possible. "Well, I'm sorry to hear that, ma'am. I want a different one." No big deal. I assumed she would want the sorted chocolate chip or oatmeal raisin cookie. "Which one?" She points to the most expensive cookie on our menu that is just over $5 a cookie, because it's a chocolate chip cookie on crack. It's also harder than the shortbread because of the ingredients. My mind reels at this because it's both harder and more expensive. Then I realized in my head she just wants a free fucking cookie. I'm pissed because I know she is acting like this to get something twice the price and size of the shortbread cookie for free. I calm myself and say, "Ma'am, that cookie is over $5. So?" I am usually a calm person, but she was pushing all my red buttons. I have to keep my cool. I basically deny her pleasantly and walk to the back to get cups for restocking. I come back to the front and see my manager at the time, about a mid-20s man, Gordon, talking to this entitled Karen. He gives her the damn cookie she asked for, and I about lost my shit, so I walked back to the area where the caterer would be. However, she's not there, and it's in the way back. I'm fuming. He just gave it to this entitled bitch. He comes back and explains that there is some shitty policy at the top of the receipts, that if the customer is not happy, they come to us and we make it right. I explained to him exactly what happened and why I'm upset about her getting a $5 cookie for free. He says he understands, but policy is policy. Luckily, this manager no longer works there. I wonder why. It's like our store is single-handedly making it so entitled bitches are encouraged to enact like entitled bitches. My second example is from when I started working there, like within the first month or two. I understand this woman, but you gotta hear this. I am the only cashier on duty, and the register policy wasn't as strict as it is now, so both registers were able to be used by whoever, no matter whose name was on it. Both are open. The first lady walks in with her, 30-year-old son, who I can tell isn't exactly right. We'll call her Liz. So Liz and her son come up to order at the left register, and halfway through the order she realizes she forgot her wallet in her car, and her son isn't sure what she wants. She runs to get her wallet while her son looks at the menu board. No big deal. Another customer walks in. The place is busy in drive-thru and online, so I have no help. None. Normally I would ask for team lead or the manager for help, but they are busy AF. So I move to the right register and start taking the second lady's order, Sammy. This is where it got awkward. I'm halfway through Sammy's order, and she has to call her family for clarification on the order, right as Liz walks back in. It went downhill fast. Liz gives me a dirty look and sits at the booth closest to the register with her son to wait. I feel bad. I started hers, and then someone else walked in. My attempt to appease everyone without making people wait has hit me hard. Sammy is still on the phone, so I walk to the left register and call Liz over. This all starts a crazy chain reaction of events that goes from Liz scolding me to her scolding Sammy. Then she realizes suddenly that I was just trying to please everyone, and it's not easy on your own. The realization hit at a good time, because my team lead got freed up long enough to take Sammy's order while I helped Liz. She felt the need to have some of our mini chocolate chip cookies, and we normally don't give those out. They are 12 prepared tiny cookies. They're like $9. But I was so drained I just told her to take them. She did apologize to Sammy and me, and while the ordeal was stressful, needless to say, I learned not to do that again. What do you think, though? 5. A few years ago, I was flying back from Toronto to Vancouver on a 787 where you have these wonderful lie-flat pods in business class. These cabins are configured 1-2-1. There are 2 pods next to each other, but no big deal if you're traveling alone, as there's a privacy slider you can pull up. I was flying alone and wound up in one of those middle seats. No problem. I get to my seat, and the woman on the other side is already there. Here's roughly the conversation.
Hi there, if it's okay, could you switch seats with my husband so we can sit together?
As I said, it doesn't really matter at all where this guy's seat is. It's either the exact same config as what I am in, or maybe it's one of the individual ones next to a window, which actually would be a nice upgrade. No one next to you and more space. Sure, no problem, where is it?
Great, it's back there, 18B. I'll tell him to come up here, thank you.
Business class has only 8 or 9 rows. Wait, 18B, sorry. I'm not switching out of business class to the back.
But you said you would. He's already heading this way.
You can't seriously expect me to swap a pod for a middle seat at the back of the bus. Are you kidding me? I'm actually looking around to see if someone is recording this. It seems like a YouTube setup video of some sort.
It's not such a big difference, and it's their bulkhead row, so there's plenty of leg room.
After more discussion as to how this even happened, as it turned out, entitled woman and husband had been seated in 18B and 18C, but for some reason she'd been offered a free upgrade to business class and took it, expecting that the person, me in this case, next to her would just swap, and 18C had now been assigned to someone else, so there was no way they could sit together. Tell you what, if you can find anyone up here to swap with your husband, I'll be happy to take that seat and you can have this one. Anywhere in this cabin I'm fine with. Then you can sit together, but I'm not moving back there.
But we both want to sit together up here.
I'm sure you do. But I think you have two choices, sit apart or sit together back there. I'm sure whoever is in 18C would love to sit up here. Take your old seat back and you can both sit together. They both angrily made their way to the back, and I was half expecting a new, confused stranger to appear, the lucky recipient of an instant upgrade. But no, she came back. According to her, 18A loved the window bulkhead and didn't want to move. 18C had a family, and 18DEF didn't want to move either. Someone later told me that perhaps the flight attendants got involved and just told her to go to her assigned seat. No seat swapping allowed. Whatever the case, she showed up all angry and made a big show and lots of noise sitting down. I couldn't have cared less. 30 minutes after takeoff, I was reclined and fast asleep for the entire flight, and I'm still bewildered that someone would think this makes any sense at all. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Idiots in the Wild, episode 155. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do hit that like button, and share the video with friends and family. If you'd like to get early access to these videos, then why not support me on my Patreon page, which is linked in the description. Just click the link, takes you to it, and you can do that for as little as $1 or more if you'd like per month. You'll also find a link to the Hellfreezer merchandise store on Teespring. And if you enjoyed today's video, you can leave a tip by clicking on the little heart with a $sign in the middle underneath the video. And I appreciate that, but you don't have to do it. Okay. No other business today, I don't believe, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, and this one comes thanks to Poser Vene on the Discord. If you were a color, what color would it be? I see a red door and I want to paint it black. Okay, there might be a little bit of an Elmo goth in me. Yeah, I know what I said. Well, it's kind of tough. Is it the color you would be? Is it necessarily your favorite color? Well, I suppose that would make sense, right? The color you most identify with would be the color that you feel represents you. So in my case, black and purple. They go very well. I mean, black goes with everything, really, doesn't it? So yeah, black and purple. If black's too depressing of an answer for you, let's go with purple. Feel free to share yours with any reasons you might want to add in a comment below. And before we go, we'll have the answer of the day from a previous video. And today's answer comes from Idiots in the Wild, episode 100. And that question was, if you could take the place of any movie character, who would it be and why? And that came from Nandehalathil. And today's answer comes from Witchy Nicole. Sarah Connor. From the Terminator movies. I chose her because she is smart, tough, and knows how to survive, even though she was once a timid nobody. Thank you very much, Nicole, for your answer. And with that, I'm gonna head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.